Caw. Two men. One named Rich. That's me.
This is Jermaine. Just got off the toilet.
He's a foul man. This is the X's and O's of life.
Huh?
Yeah, that's what you got yourself into. I apologize.
I am more excited than you can possibly imagine.
Fantastic. So, very, very big guest today. He is, I've recently found out he will be performing at the Super Bowl. Oh, no, that's Usher. Damn it. All right, wrong one. So, maybe, who knows? Shoot for the stars.
I mean, you could have said that about Taylor Swift. She would have been like, "Yeah, I turned him down." So I turned him
We
down.
don't say her name in this house. At least I try not to. I just
She is a household name, so.
Yeah, well, she frustrates me.
I know.
So,
she frustrates you with her unbelievable beauty.
Really?
No, you don't. You're not into her.
No, she's like 6'3" and just oh god, dude, it's weird to me. Like I don't know.
She is.
Huh?
Are you telling me that if she asked you out on a date, you'd be like, no?
Absolutely, absolutely. She is insufferable to me.
Yeah.
Insufferable.
She's kind of cleaned up.
The wife loves her, and I'm like, okay.
You wouldn't even go on one date with her?
No.
Out of curiosity, just so you could brag about it on the show at least?
No, because there's nothing about her that's appealing to me. Yeah.
I mean, she sings a tune. You got to give her that. That's not something that you can really sneer at these days. I mean, how many people don't use auto-tune?
This is true. It's a very true point.
I give her some credit for that.
Yeah, I there's something about her that's grating to me. I can't pinpoint it.
Unbelievable level of wealth.
Oh yeah, well there you go. I mean that probably doesn't help matters. Something about her just seems very two-sided, just very yeah. Even and I think the more frustrating part is she tries to portray herself as authentic, and I just feel like there's something there that's just like, yeah, what do you do on your off days? I kick puppies and burn down children's hospitals, things like that.
Isn't that what the major labels are all about?
Yes.
Marketing authenticity when it's all a bunch of BS. I mean, these are like corporate beasts that are that are like funding this badass look.
Right.
For artists that are like coming out of the crypts, like are looking like they are, and they're not. They're living in a lap of luxury.
Right.
I'm the opposite. I look like I'm all cleaned up, but I'm not exactly in the lap of luxury, not even close.
I mean,
look at the wall behind me.
I mean, it does look like a basement wall, but I kind of dig that. So,
okay, I'll keep it then.
Nice. So now that we didn't do the introduction, which is perfectly fine because this is exactly how the show goes. Yeah. Well, I mean, this is one of those things where I told you this is far from a normal thing. So, what's your name?
Asher Lobb.
Okay. Mostly because I was like, I may butcher this one. I don't know. We'll see. Because I mean, it looks very simple, but I'm like, watch this be like, yeah, the S and the E and the R are silent. So
these days butchering something is like curated. We do curated butchering, and that's what seems authentic, right? So I guess this was curated and completely intentional. And
I like it.
It just might go viral if any interview does a podcast.
I mean, let's be the trailblazers on that then. Let's do that.
Let's do it. Let's go viral.
I like it. So what I do is I go through your bio, kind of skim it real quick. I don't want to delve too deep into it because I don't want to come in here with a bevy of knowledge of what you do, because then it's just questions and it's a Q&A session of stuff I already know with a little bit of stank of what you have to add to it. That's boring. So
yeah, go ahead. I'm gonna stop interrupting.
No, you're fine. Believe me, no, you're fine. So electric violin is your instrument of choice, correct?
Very much so. Although,
Dude, what is that?
What is it? Yeah, I guess not too many people know about it. I just sort of assume, oh yeah, like isn't it like a standard instrument nowadays that I've been using it pretty much over the last 2,000 gigs that I've done since 2001. It is a regular violin without a body, so it's, I don't know. I can do show and tell, but nobody wants to wait for me. So,
No, dude, do it, please.
Really?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Don't go anywhere, listeners. 1 second.
Oh, I hear it.
You hear it? Yeah, here.
That wasn't that long.
I've done show and tell in a while. I gotta angle it to the camera here. This is my traditional classical violin. People are always like, "Oh yeah, the electric's more expensive," right? I'm not even close. This is a piece of art, and this is like somewhat a piece of art. I mean, it's like, it's a cool piece that is more. It's really for convenience. It's got like it's got knobs for better sound control. I don't know if you play electric guitar.
No, my kid does, and I have zero idea how any of that works.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, these are strings, so E, A, D, G are the notes, and pretty much it's a closed body, so you can barely hear it. But on an acoustic, you can hear. This is an open body, so loud and clear, right? I think, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. So what makes this electric unique, and the reason why I have it is because I play a lot of loud performances. So like last night, I was like this $30,000 sound company with like line array racks. So we're talking really big speakers, like festival type speakers, and you can easily get feedback. If you know what I mean by feedback, like if you stand in front of a mic,
right,
and you shout, and then there's like screeches in everybody's ear. So that's what happens with an acoustic. It's not really as good for bandstand type performances or big stage performances. That's why I use this. So I got a lot of control. I can make it sound like an electric guitar or an authentic violin.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So what kind of got you into the whole, well, first of all, what got you into the music scene? And then for that matter, I mean, it's not like a violin is super, I wouldn't say it's not super popular, but
You're right. It's not super popular. It's becoming more popular. At least in my world. It seems like there are a lot of violinists that are kind of blowing up. More than you'd expect that I would have ever expected in the not the traditional realm, but like the contemporary like pop scene.
Okay.
So, but again, like if you're not into violin, you're not going to be seeing much of that stuff.
Right.
Events. So you're asking me how I got into it. Well, I started at the age of 2 on that, not that exact acoustic, but on a small acoustic violin. So my parents were really kind of gung ho about educating me in classical, and that's pretty much been my bread and butter, my upbringing. I wanted to do what my older siblings were doing. So, they're all playing instruments, and that's how I got into it. I wasn't planning on doing it professionally, but it was paying the bills when I went to college in New York, and I was looking to pay the bills. So that's what I looked to do, was to play events, and it was paying pretty well. So that transitioned me into a full-time career. But I was pursuing other degrees, and I was planning on doing having a day job, and now I have a night job.
Yeah, I was gonna say day jobs are overrated. So, I mean, I think you already kind of covered why you chose the electric variation. Is there any more to that kind of decision, or was that kind of just the straightforward, hey, it just makes more sense in the grand scheme of life and how I do it?
It was just things got too complicated on stage with sound and feedback with the acoustic. And again, the acoustic was my only instrument playing classical, and then when I started playing rock, pop, EDM music, it doesn't work well with acoustic violin. You need better sound control. You need better versatility in tone. You can't deal with the feedback. those are the main reasons. People like to look at something cool. It helps. It lights up. LED violin, you know.
I mean, I was gonna say it definitely does not look anything close to a violin. It looks like I don't even know. Like it's something. Yeah. Like I'm like that. Where's the rest of it?
Yeah, that's and the rest of it would just cause complications with the sound. I mean, that's why it's closed bodies. But like, you know, like it's got some, you know, color. It's a cool instrument. I don't know why the camera's like weird. Yeah. So this is a shoulder rest. Chin rest, you know, I put over here, and this little flappy thing, it's heavy, so I got to wrap it around my back here.
Yeah.
Sort of. You can see, I mean, I use this all the time for, you know, when I go live on Facebook and I do weekly performances and
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's my thing.
So whenever you first started to kind of like, how did you, I wouldn't say how did you get the first gig, but how did you end up becoming, I mean, I guess you could say popular. I mean, how did you start? How did gigs start coming to you?
So I did, they didn't magically come to me at the pop in my lap until I started getting the ball rolling. Initially, I, you know, when I was in 11th grade, I was applying again to colleges in New York, and I was thinking there's a huge music scene there. This is a no-brainer. And I sent in demo tapes, a tape. Remember what a tape is?
I do.
And I recorded in my bathroom where there's amazing residence. You know, you sing in the bathroom, it's like, wow, you know, it's like a hall. So I got some nice resonance. I just recorded some jamming, soloing type music, which sort of distinguished myself from a typical classical player. In addition to like classical demo music, I just sent it in to a couple of bands, and they're like, yeah, come to work for us. So it wasn't that simple. Once I moved to New York, you know, I had to show up. I had to sit in a couple times, but it was like, you know, once or twice. And first time they gave me a T-shirt, and
Nice.
And second time they paid me like, you know, a couple hundred, and then they saw that I was an asset to the band, and I started getting requested, and it helped to also play some shows at my college. People started requesting me pretty quickly because through weddings, and then I started doing fundraising events, and within like 3 years, I was doing concerts. So.
It's kind of funny. So I told the wife what I was doing today, and she's like, "Yeah, it's crazy. I go to she goes to the store occasionally called Marshall's just to get, you know, whatever. And I guess there's a fella out there playing the electric violin, and she was sitting here, she was saying, "Oh man, I wish I would have met this guy before, because would have had him come to the wedding, because like it just sounds awesome." And because we had a little like quartet at the wedding play the music, so
Yeah,
it's
that's all right.
it just made me think of whenever you said wedding, I was like, yeah, man, I would imagine you probably get gigs for days for that stuff. Like,
yeah, so I try to wear a lot of different hats. I don't just stick to electric, although that seems to be the easiest for me in terms of I got a lot of stuff that I'm doing. I'm doing production back here, working, you know, music for film, and the live performances are my bread and butter in terms of income. So, like,
right.
I don't have so much time to be assembling bands and string sections, although I do. It's just quicker for me to just show up and charge and just play with bands and play with DJs. Come home after a couple hours.
Fair enough. I like it. I like the simplicity.
Yeah. But yeah, but you know, people like versatility. People. There's definitely a lot to appreciate in a quartet and a trio, especially at a classy sort of event. And it's nice to. I like to just show the versatility of the instrument, because a lot of people don't really give it credit for what it really can do across genres. Again, because of what popular music is all about. It's mostly about vocals these days.
It depends how you look at it, man. I'm more of a, I appreciate the behind the scenes stuff more than the actual. I mean, I look at the vocals as just another instrument. So,
well, that's like the nicest thing I've heard all week.
yeah.
And I know it wasn't a compliment for me, but like to hear it from that there are people out there who are actually into the instrumentation more than the vocals or the lyrics is like, it makes me so happy to hear. Because then
we're a dying breed, man. Dying breed.
It means that there's a lot of other people out there like you, and that's pretty cool.
I would hope so. I mean, because I just feel like music in itself, music is such a big part of my life. I can't play it for shit, but in general, just I appreciate it. I love hearing the bass. I love hearing the guitar. I like hearing the percussion section. Just I like picking that apart and and being able to differentiate this band from that band to this, because obviously vocals are going to be different, this, that, and the other, yada yada yada. But if anyone doesn't look at vocals as just being another instrument, you don't really know what you're talking about with music. Like, if you think about it, before, when it was just orchestra stuff and symphony stuff, there wasn't really vocals until they did the whole, operatic kind of stuff. And then how is that not an instrument? I don't know.
Yeah. So, I think the singer-songwriter thing took off because people can sort of sing along with the headliner at a concert, whereas with an instrument, people can like hum the melody, but they can't sing the lyrics necessarily, and that's why it was
true.
Stuff with guys.
True, but here's my caveat, my little retort to that. So when you're listening to something, you just tap your foot to it, or you tap your fingers to it, are you not, you're not physically singing, but I feel like you're doing something with your body to a part of the kind of instrument, the music, the whatever part you're picking apart. I don't know. I feel like people that look at it that way are short-sighted. They look at the whole thing as a whole, which I guess, okay, there's a niche for that, fine. But do you think the artist really wants you to look at their, what 4, 5, 3 people in that band? Do you think they really want you to put them in a box? Me personally, I wouldn't want that. I would like someone to, hey, I've perfected my craft and I would like that to shine. Now, I may be the drummer and I'm not the head vocalist or the lead guitar. I get it. I'm kind of like the redheaded stepchild here. But without me keeping that rhythm, this thing crumbles. So I don't know. I feel like more people should actually appreciate that. But to be honest, most, current music is shit anyway. So it doesn't really make too much of a big difference. But that's my little diatribe.
Well, the music that's getting the funding.
Yeah, that's a good point. Fair.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a wealth of music out there. It's just not getting the attention. It's not getting the push. Ed Sheeran, he's a good singer. He's a good instrumentalist. But like what the whole like PR thing behind what he's doing, what you see on social media, I was just like scrolling on YouTube, is like him, singing in front of baseball players. They're singing his song like, "I found the love," perfect. And it's like, doesn't that song get old? like he's got a lot better music, but that doesn't really make rounds as much because it's not getting the push by the labels, by the funding. And I wish people were able to pay more attention to like the good music that these artists produce. Beyonce, like that. Well, she's really talented, and a lot of her music I think is really unique. But again, back to Ed Sheeran, like the music that's he's famous for is not that exciting to me, at least as an instrumentalist. He's got much better music.
Yeah, I think a lot of these and all right. So I'm very much a 90s person. I'm very much kind of like that grunge guy. I enjoy kind of the grit. I enjoy kind of, I wouldn't say necessarily the angsty part of it, but and here's where I'm like, hey, get off my lawn kind of moment here. I don't think the kids of today can really appreciate music how it kind of used to be. And obviously people of the 90s can say the same thing about the 60s, yada yada. But it just seems like it meant a little bit more back then. Like songwriting actually, it's like, hey, I actually have something to say. Now it's like, oh man, my girl left me, and things and stuff and bad stuff and
Back to Taylor Swift.
right. And it's just like, first of all, at a certain point, bitch, it's you. You're the problem. It's not the other dudes. You're the common denominator. Anyway, that soapbox. I just feel like the music nowadays is just so it's rinse and repeat. It's tough.
Oh, too repetitive, you're saying?
Yeah, it's just rinse and repeat. It's the same
chord progression.
Yeah, it's aimed towards the same demographic, and I get it. Like, I understand. Make your money. It's this isn't like punk where oh, you can't sell out. No, I need to feed my family, so it's fine. If they're gonna pay me all of these other zeros, or I could stay true to my quote unquote brand and make a lot less zeros, yeah, I'm gonna sell out or buy in, whatever you want to call it. But as a music connoisseur or consumer or whatever you want to say, it's just like harumph. Okay.
Yeah, people hated Coldplay for selling out. I mean, I think they're really talented. They definitely went mainstream, but and the truth is they were always mainstream even from the beginning because they were just huge.
I kind of felt that, yeah.
But their music style went very pop mainstream. Like, I don't know, 10 years ago. And people were up in arms over it. It's like, okay, they want to make a couple 100 million more. So, like, what are you going to blame them?
Are you a sports fan at all?
I don't spend a lot of time. I don't have much time to focus on sports these days because I'm too busy being a workaholic in the music scene.
Fair.
But yeah, I mean, I'm from Buffalo, so like you kind of got to be into the Bills, or at least hope for the best for the Bills.
Okay. What about baseball at all?
I mean, I can appreciate it. I can't sit through a whole game, but yeah, I used to go to games.
You're aware enough of the ins and outs of it to understand this stuff.
Yeah,
all right. So you're a great baseball player. You're a young kid. You're going through Little League. You're going through Pony League. And your aspirations are to make it big. But you want to make it big on your own terms. And then you get into the minor leagues. And the Yankees call you. And they're like, hey, we want to call you up. You don't want to be a part of the Yankees because you don't agree with their ideologies. No, instead of me making millions and millions of dollars, I'm going to toil in the minor leagues and make league minimum, and I'm going to be true to my values. You know who does that? Nobody. Nobody does that. So I think the whole sellout thing is such a stupid comment. It's so silly to me. Makes no sense. Dude, take care. Make your money. Do I agree with what you're doing, your music? No. But that's my taste. I'm a bit of a, I'm not your demographic, and that's that. But rabbit holes aplenty here. This is what the show's about.
Hey, well, you should maybe call it that. Rabbit hole radios.
You know what? Me and the wife are gonna do one. We kind of thought about doing something like that, but I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't have worked out. Yeah. All right. So, well, let me ask you this, and I don't know if you're even set up to do this, but how opposed are you to bringing it out and, playing a little bit? Is that something that you were set up to do, or because auto
power off. Why is that? Crap. What's going on there?
I don't know.
Auto power off. Plug. Oh, goodness gracious.
That's funny. Apparently, that's a hard no then.
Oh, wait. I saved the day there.
Yeah, you did.
All right. Now that we're back.
I don't know if you're set up to because I probably should have. I didn't really think about it.
The thing is, it's not going to sound good. So I would be happy to play if I knew that like the sound check was going to sound good.
Okay.
Last time I did a StreamYard, it doesn't. I mean, it's really even Zoom also, but it just sounds really like subpar in terms of the output.
Okay.
It doesn't really. I'd rather just send you an MP3 to play for that's like produced. That's properly.
Fair enough. I dig it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go to the next thing then. So okay. From a popularity standpoint, not in the niche of the violin community, because let's be honest, there's not a lot of people that are really kind of in that in the normal general kind of culture. It just is what it is. You know that. What is the most mainstream person you have worked with musically?
Mainstream. More played for. Played for some famous people, but
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I would say maybe Matisyahu. He
Really?
Yeah, played. Well, we shared a stage. I didn't play with him, but we shared a stage. So
That's fun. I feel like no one else knows who that is. I love that so much.
I mean, he's pretty big. He was his music made it to like King Without a Crown, made it to like the top 7 in the charts, which is
Dude, that song is a banger, by the way.
Yeah. So he's a pretty big artist. I mean, he does international tours. Is he the biggest guy I've played with? I don't know if you know Griffin. He's one of the. He's a very big EDM pop star. But then again, there's a lot of big pop stars out there that nobody's ever heard of.
Right.
Yeah, I know he's got like 1 billion streams on his music. He's got a lot of. He does a lot of touring, and his festival his performances are like close to Kygo's in terms of like 20,000, 30,000. So he's, I would say that's pretty mainstream.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to play with a number of pretty decent sized artists, and I don't know if you know Jessica Lynn. These people aren't like household names, but they're very big in their genre. She's a big star. She also does international tours. So I guess it depends on the music that you hear. Some people might be like, oh, "No way," and then others are like, "Never heard of her or him." So that's the funny thing about the music industry and even like fame, because somebody who's there are so many people that are famous, and yet there's a couple billion people in the world that have never heard of that famous person. Unless you're talking about like President Biden, where everybody knows his name,
right?
Or Trump or whatever. That's famous. But then there's like, I don't know. Why am I talking about this? It's just there's different levels.
No, I completely get it. And I mean, that makes perfect sense, because I don't want to feel like I'm pooping on anyone's kind of fame or anything like that when I'm like, I don't know who you are. But I'm also like, I like the 90s and stuff. So,
Yeah. So, back to the 90s, alternative rock, like I grew up in the 90s, like middle school or so. Alternative rock was the mainstream music, right? And then it completely changed. I mean, radio also changed, and now it's just like in specific niches, specific stations. So it's interesting how just the mainstream music industry has changed so drastically in just like 10 years, and it changes up every 10 years, every decade or so.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. Would you ever think that you'd ever hear like a country-esque song on the quote-unquote popular radio station? No, I mean, well, let's be honest, radio is kind of dead anyway, but it's kind of the thing of like, wow, 10 years ago, it's like they were making fun of country on like the morning shows and things like that. Now they're like, hey, come on in. Like, oh,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Ever since Nas X, like try to,
yeah.
I mean, I gotta say, like that is a weird ass song. Like,
yeah.
But what he did was innovative, and he used marketing strategies on the emerging TikTok to do it. So he became up into this like wow artist. Even though when I watch him on stage, I'm like, really? They threw everything they could at him, and I guess that's the point, because the message was from TikTok, you can do it too. Like, you don't have to be able to, you don't have to be a big deal or a musical genius to make it. You could be Nas X and
Right.
have a chance. And that's just a marketing strategy. That's sort of the game.
I mean, it feels very much like, hey, right place, right time. Kind of like cashed in, bing, boom. This is sitting right in my lap. And, let me go do this thing. And everyone will latch on because social media and things.
Yeah, I mean, I think TikTok blew him up. I don't think it was an accident. I don't think it was like, oh, like everybody was just like in love with what's the song?
Something road. I don't know.
Yeah, Hotown Road. It's funny, I could play it, but I can't think of the lyrics. So,
well, that should say enough about that song right there. The fact that it's like.
It's just
Old Town Road, I think.
Town Road, yeah. I mean, so merging trap and pop and like rap with like country, and that's what he did.
Yeah, which
I mean, that's what Elvis did. He merged like gospel and rock. Is that what he did?
I guess I feel like blues was somewhere in there too a little bit.
Yeah, blues, right. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
and that's what blew him up. So
yeah, it's in it. So it's almost like you don't ever really see just a pivot. It always there's this genre, and then there's a hybrid, and then the next kind of wave comes through. Now I don't know if we're ever going to get a different wave again. I think now it's just kind of like rock's dead, which okay.
I think because I think people just want to hear simple, like not even melodic, because a lot of music, there's a lot of non-melodic music out there. You know what it is? It's a culture. People want to associate with a certain kind of culture, like whether it's badass or it's like from, I don't know. I have to watch what I say, but
no, you don't.
No, it's like when I taught in the South Bronx for. I'm really careful what I say. I don't want to offend people, but I taught in the South Bronx, low SES community, low socioeconomic status type of community. And, I know the music they were listening to was music that they could sort of associate with. And like, I used to say words like the hood, but that's apparently offensive. So I can't, like, no,
it's legitimately, like hood ass music. That's like, projects. Hey, this is my come up. And this is, like there is, right. It's like comfort food almost.
Yeah.
It's so, like, hey, I'm like you.
I think I have a lot to say. Just give me a second.
Do it.
As the country, if our country becomes wealthier, I think music tastes are going to change.
Why?
Across the board. Because what makes money is culture. Culture drives the money. Culture drives the profits. And the major labels are focused solely on the profits because they have to make their investors happy. So that's possibly why the music changes so quickly. So I guess what I'm saying is if people if the culture changes such that people are generally into like classical instruments, that may become a mainstream thing. Not a prayer now, because it's not something that people like have an affinity towards or associate with. People associate with like badass or cool or like, I don't know, funky or EDM, whatever. That's just my very, very strong opinion.
No, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, look, you're worried about offending folks. Here's the thing. You think about back in the 90s. Do you think Papa Roach was actually a good band? Jesus Christ, no. Terrible. But you know what they did? Those angsty kids are like, I'm going to do it, Mom. I'm going to do it. They were like, oh, these people are speaking to me. So then whenever you have these trap dudes that come out and talk about their come up and they talk about where they came from, you got that kid that's in the projects too that's like, hey, you're there, but you were here. Mm-hmm. Now, can I get there? And you would hope that could be like a, hey, rise yourself up. But then there's other shitty messages in the songs. It's like, yeah, well, there goes your message. Never mind. So,
Yeah.
but that's also, like I said, you play to your listeners. So if that's what they want, if that's what they want and you're in it because you want to make money, that's what you're going to do, because that just makes sense. And it's hard to be passionate and still stay true to your cause unless your cause is, let's make some hood ass music. It's like, okay. So
yes, staying true to kind of the message, staying true to yourself. Fans, they can see through the BS, and that's sort of the general recommendation for artists like myself, to just kind of like be myself.
yeah.
I find it irritating when I see people that remind me of myself in terms of their background, the way they speak, whatever, and then they try to pretend like they're somebody completely different from a different culture, and I just I can't associate with it. I can't digest it. I can't absorb their music and really like appreciate what they're doing, because it just doesn't seem real.
Yeah, and just so we can put this out here too, anyone that's listening, no, we're not attacking black folks. That's not how this goes. White people are just as bad. We like to make the music of life is really, really hard in white America, and we do. Life's very difficult because my Toyota Prius isn't working. It's like, okay, that's life. Life is hard. I understand. So,
a lot of artists that kind of blow up, they give off that impression that they have a really hard life, and they may actually have in terms of like mental health. There's like, but
good
and
point.
These are a number of artists. They've been given all the opportunities in the world. They grew up middle class. They had money. They went to school, but the mental health thing was kind of stressing them out. And I guess that's what maybe people have an affinity towards. But for somebody like myself, for me, it's like the love of music. I don't have. I have had a hard life in terms of my health. Adrenal insufficiency is like pretty much my story, the story that I tell, and it's sort of the backdrop of everything that I do, reemerging from like what was permanently a permanent diagnosis.
What is that, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, yeah, it's just not producing enough cortisol. It relates to like a general chronic inflammatory condition, disease, which I was diagnosed with prior to that. I don't want to waste people's time like talking too much about that, because I talk about it all over the place. But like that's my troublesome upbringing. I wasn't born into the projects. I didn't like I was born into a relatively healthy family with healthy siblings. I don't have a sob story, but I do have a story of staying focused on my goals, despite some pretty challenging obstacles, such as my health condition. So why did I go off into that direction? I guess because it's a very different sort of narrative than you'd expect from an artist, from a mainstream artist. And if I were to ever to be in the situation of like Ed Sheeran, hopefully not really interested in something like that, I would stay myself. Like I wouldn't try to pretend to be from a different culture or change the way that I speak, or I would just try to be me.
Yeah, I think that's hard for people to do in general, just to be true kind of to themselves. And and that kind of goes hand in hand with the whole changing your music up and changing how you approach it. And it's like, oh, you sold out. It's like, I wouldn't say it's sold out, but I adapted a little bit. I think that's a different. I think there's a line in the sand there where you can still stay true to yourself and play a little bit more of a, hey, this is going to be more of the popular kind of genre instead of Like, when's the last time you heard a hardcore band on a pop station? You don't, and that's why they usually don't make money. Like, they're like, yeah, I'm true to myself. Hey, dude, fine, do your thing, cool, but just expect you're going to be playing in bars till you're 50. Just
Yeah,
kind of is what it is.
I'm not sure why like why the alternative music and why the hardcore music disappeared. Like didn't make it to the top 40s or didn't continue to make it to the top 40s. I'm kind of confusing to me. I mean, I know the culture shifted, but I don't know.
So, I mean, it went from grunge alternative into boy bands, and then boy bands into new metal, and then it went to like a college rock kind of stage, and then Lil Jon and Usher came on, and it's been history since that. And it's not a bad thing. It's just is kind of the progression. Something happened there that kind of took the
could have been a demographic change.
Yeah. Which I mean, and I mean, let's be honest. I mean, hip hop's been kind of head of the table for hell. I mean, it could at this point it could drink at this point. It's been what 21 years. Let's just say 2000. I mean, it's. But that's what makes people move now. And
yeah, it's true.
You're not gonna play Soundgarden at your wedding. It just isn't gonna happen. Sorry.
Yeah, but I'm always surprised why certain songs are always selected over, like for instance, Latin music. It's like it's hauling ass. I mean, it's kicking out. It's you got the Latin Grammys. You literally have they're a dominant. They're what's the word? Dominating, I guess, the music scene in terms of just cleaning up with the awards. And again, I don't know if that's a demographic shift or if that's just a funding shift. It's an interesting phenomenon.
I think it's fun. I just think it's just generally fun music. There's a lot going on there, and it's just you will find yourself just moving whether you like it or not. There's something about it.
Yeah. You play pop music, at an event, and people are not jumping onto the dance floor. You need a motivator for that kind of stuff. And this is stuff that supposedly is dominating the radio. I guess it is dominating the radio.
Well, that's exactly why.
But people aren't jumping up out of their seats to dance to that kind of stuff.
Well, no, that's the point, because they heard it 4 times on the drive over to the wedding.
But they haven't heard. But I guess what I'm saying is the Latin and like the hip hop is generally way more popular. You tend to see people wanting to get up and dance more than you do with like the mainstream pop music.
Well, so
it's just the events that I've been doing.
Well, no. So what I'm saying is like, I'm negating the hip hop part of it. I'm just going strictly on the Latin part of it. One, you're not going to hear that on a regular basis. I mean, at least in the grand scheme of life on the popular. I mean, you will, but you won't. By comparison to like a Swift song or a Sheeran song, things like that. So it's almost like, oh, I've heard this before. Oh, okay. It's almost like your head assimilates that to, oh, I remember when I heard this that time. And it just kind of releases those endorphins. I think once you hear that regular generic pop song for the 3rd time that day, you're like, dude, I'm going to the bar. I'm good. I'm all set. Y'all can dance on the dance floor. I'm going to go refill the drink, because it's just it doesn't excite you. It's like, oh, again? All right. It's like the same idea. Like, hey, I love pizza. If I ate pizza every day, I'd be real tired of pizza real quick.
Yeah. Well, I guess, the question is, are the Latin Grammys going to remain the Latin Grammys? Are they always going to be a mainstay? Or is hip hop and rap, is that always going to be, I guess it's going to turn to the equivalent of classic rock. Classic rock is here to stay. It's always here. But it's not as popular as it was. It's equally as popular among the older generation.
Yeah, and that generation is literally dying off. And I hate to say it that way, but that's kind of
Yeah,
That's
but it may
that's kind of the
reemerge
thing. You think?
for cycles.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anyway,
Interesting. I like it. All right, so oh god, we're running late here. Okay, all right, so 2 important questions I have here for you, and I'm interested to kind of hear, and you can delve in as deep as you want. Best story and worst story musically.
I really need to like think more carefully about all the experiences that I've had,
Okay.
because I know I'm missing out on some really critical ones I just haven't thought about. But there's this one thing. Well, worst in terms of like performances, talking about, right?
Yeah.
So I guess probably not the worst story, but a pretty bad one is getting up on stage to perform for about 700 people. Actually, it was back in college with my band, and the MC took a step back onto my $2,000 bow, cracked it in half, and needless to say, I was devastated. I was desperate because that was the only bow that I had. Another kind of stupid move on my end. And I got up to the mic and I asked if there was anybody who had a bow, which was just embarrassing. It was like, people were chuckling because it's like, who's going to have a bow in the audience? I'm trying to remember what happened. I think somebody, there was another band. They actually had a violinist. He lent me his bow. That's how I was trying to remember what the hell happened. So that was an utter disaster. Best story.
Hold on.
Yeah.
What did you do to the MC? Holy
I wanted
jeez.
to deck him, but I realized, like, what am I going to do? I can't. I'm not going to like ruin the event.
Did they foot the bill for you?
He didn't even pay for it. No.
What?
Like, yeah, it's just, it happened. And he was a friend of some of my friends, and the whole thing was awkward. And if I had been more aggressive type of personality, I would have kind of like gotten in his face, but it is what it is, and in the end, like, would an uncomfortable experience like that have been worth it in retrospect 20, 30 years down the road? What's $2,000 after a lifetime's worth of like income?
Yeah, I get it. But I mean, at that point in time, like $2,000, that's a pretty big.
I wanted to push him off the stage. Yeah. And it was what do you call it? It was bequeathed to me. So that made it even harder.
Yeah.
Handed down to me from my Aunt Sheila, who's in the Boston Symphony. So
wow. Okay. Oh, yeah, they wouldn't have found the body. I'm just saying.
They couldn't have fixed it. They couldn't fix it. The luthier couldn't fix it because the bow has to be one piece of wood, apparently.
Well, at that point, you just make the bow the part of that guy's body. You're like, well, you broke it. Now this is a part of you.
Yeah. Shove it up the,
yeah, there you go. All right, best story. Let's end on a glorifying, amazing moment.
I can think of a cool story where I was at a private event and I was on Wall Street, and I guess you're bound to meet somebody influential there, but we were right next to the king of Morocco,
really?
and his entourage of like 15 advisors and whatever. And he asked for me to come over and do a performance for him, and it was a no-brainer. The only thing I regret was not having anybody videotape it because he strictly prohibited it. The security prohibited it. I actually got a video of him, and then the owner of the restaurant told me to delete it immediately. And then I was like furious. And I didn't want to like get arrested because the FBI was actually out in front of the restaurant. I didn't even realize why they were at the time. I thought it was my client. It was him. I realized later. So I didn't want to it was scary. It was like a little overwhelming to have the owner of the restaurant say, you need to delete that immediately. Like this, the king refuses to allow anybody to take any videos, which is ridiculous because like there's a million videos of the guy out there.
I
Like,
was gonna say, like, what was the rationale behind it?
it was obviously a security thing. People probably didn't want to know. He probably didn't want people to know that he's at a restaurant.
Okay, yeah.
And he was dressed casual. I mean, he was not dressed. You would not know. But when you look online for King Mohammed VI, it's like, yeah, that's him, 100%. His face. But he was wearing jeans. He was dressed like me.
Yeah?
Yeah, he was dressed like me. And then like a bunch of his advisors, people like they're sitting around him. They're like, yeah, no, we're very impressed with your performance. Can I have a card? I was like, yeah, hell yeah. Please call me. I'd like to be in, make my way to to Morocco. But yeah, that hasn't happened.
No,
Hopefully,
I mean,
one of these days, I don't know. But yeah,
that's wild.
That's a story. Not my best. It's definitely an interesting story.
Hey, you got another one? Not to say that wasn't good at all, but
that's all I can think of at the moment. I mean, I've done some pretty cool performances where, for instance, at Master Theater, where I would kind of go out into the audience, and I would say this is more of an awkward story than anything else.
It's even better.
Of me, there's like 3,000 people at the show, and like people are taking videos of me, and I wanted to kind of give them a chance to get it. I didn't want to ignore them and be like this snobby performer, so I kind of like went close to the camera so they can kind of get close up to me, and then I realized how ridiculous that must have looked for kind of have this fisheye look into the camera. Lesson learned, but it was a really awesome show and awkward experience in terms of that. Another thing was like, as part of that show, this is probably more of the awkward component of that show. They're like, the producer brought out dancers that were kids. And I said, bring out the dancers. They were expecting to see what they saw in my music videos, like grown adults that like hip hop dancers. And they brought out kids like that were maybe this tall and so there were a couple of people kind of chuckling. It was a good performance. It was strong, but I think it was like a budget move on the part of the producer. So that was I don't know. That was an interesting story.
Yeah, that's a little. So you just kind of give them the eye, like
stink eye.
Like bring your kids to work day. Like what's going on here, boys?
Yeah, I wasn't gonna like complain, but it was an interesting experience.
It became a story.
Yeah.
So, good.
Yeah, I think that's all I got for now. I mean, I've got a bunch of videos out on like my Astral Land channel, vlogs of just weird things, funny things that I've done, and I could just welcome people to check it out.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say like I want you to plug everything that you have, and I was gonna ask you what are you up to now? Like what's your next month looking like?
Yeah, shameless plug.
Yeah.
Astrolab.com is my website, so people can connect to me there, and actually people are better off connecting with me on Instagram.com/Asherlab, ASHERLUB. Send me a DM, whatever, leave a comment. A lot of people, I have a lot of passive streamers and viewers, and it means a lot more to an artist when there's some sort of verbal connection going on. In terms of projects,
literally talked about that last night, actually.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, people I want to feel connected to my listeners. I don't want to just like passively scroll or passively watch. I want them to say hello. How are you? I'm from here. I released Miserlou did a collaboration with Ginny Luke, an amazing artist out in LA, and Johannes Christchacher, he's now on an international tour. She's also international tour. The producer of the music producer of the Pentatonics, Lucas Sater, was part of that project, part of the Miserlou project, which is probably one of the more exciting things I've had the opportunity of doing. I just released 2 symphonies, Repentance and A Tribute to Israel, actually, which is pretty appropriate considering what's going on at the moment. This devastating news we've been hearing about That's a whole other conversation we can have. I am in the middle of. I just published a song, really about my 3-year-old daughter. It's an instrumental piece, of course, and it is on astrolab.com/music only, because I'm looking to sync it with like a film before I release it. Before I give Spotify the pleasure.
Uh-oh, it froze up.
That's not going to be out for another 6 months. Yeah, no, I'm not going to release it until a film picks it up.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
going to keep it on my yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
well, damn, dude, you are busy.
What's that? Yeah,
I said you are busy. But that's fun, man. Like, that's, I mean, obviously you seem like you're doing something that you love, which I don't think you can really ask for anything else. And, well, you're making money with it too, so I guess you technically can. But
it's tough. But it's definitely a dream job in terms of just what I was expecting to do the rest of my life. So definitely grateful, and most of all grateful for my fans and my listeners.
Yeah, I mean, without them, you all you're doing is playing gigs in your basement. So
yeah, absolutely. I obviously prefer certain performances over others. I prefer like live performances, live shows in front of people that are coming to hear the music, hear the violin, as opposed to corporate events where people are like networking. Not as exciting to me as
you're just background music. You're just fodder for yeah.
Yeah, it helps if it's like for a meaningful cause, but overall, yeah, I can't complain. This is definitely what I love to do, and I'm just trying to work more towards the sync end of this career.
Yeah. Well, dude, keep pushing, man, because I think a lot of people would love to aspire to do something they actually love and be good at it and make money off of it. That's kind of like the dream of anyone that does anything for work, because they that's why they call it a job, not a hobby. So you kind of parlayed your hobby into a job. So
yeah, well, nowadays the good news is nowadays there's more opportunity than ever to do what people are really what their hobbies are for a living. So I would definitely recommend to folks out there who are unhappy or looking for more joy in their life to pursue what it is that they really, really love, what they're passionate about, and trying to earn a living doing it, if they're seeing some form of like income from it.
Yeah. I sure as hell am working in the red. So, that's internally my goal as well. I would love for this to be the job and not the hobby. So,
well, I hope that you succeed, and I'm sure you will.
Well, if it doesn't, I'll just do OnlyFans and show my feet or something. It's fine. I got a backup plan. It's good. Yes. All right, brother. Well, listen, I appreciate you. I will put I'll put your website up on the show notes like I do for everyone. If you want me to put any other posts on there, I can. I'm assuming all your socials are on your website, so that'll be kind of like the easy hub. It's kind of your call. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do. This will be up by tomorrow morning. I'm the pretty quick turnaround. So I will I'll send you the audio link and the audio and video link, and do with it what you will.
Sounds great. If you tag me in on my socials, it's really easy for me to share. And
perfect. Amen to that. I will 1,000,000,000% do that as well.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
All right, man. Well, listen, keep kicking ass out there in the music world, and thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.